So in order to complete our online registration, please set aside about 20 minutes or so. You'll need a few things, so your resume, bank tax and super details, and legal work rights in Australia. So that could be an Australian passport, an Australian birth certificate, a citizenship certificate, or your visa which outlines your legal work rights in Australia. Just a note, please don't use Internet Explorer or Microsoft Edge, they just won't work. So instead the browser of preference is Google Chrome, but it should work on Firefox or Safari. So if you have any issues along these lines, please contact your Maxima consultant. Otherwise, when you're ready, please go to http://maxima.foundu.com.au. Thanks very much. Okay, so you're now on the registration screen, maxima.foundu.com.au. Come over to the top right corner and click Register. Then click New Applicant. And now we need to provide personal details. So we'll call this person John Smith, put in the mobile number and the email. In the employment industry section, there are three options. If you are only looking for work in the office and professional area, you would tick this, but you could tick the others as well. So if you're interested in labouring work, you would tick industrial and trade, or if you're interested in work in recreation centres, you tick that one as well. But for now we'll tick office support and professional services. Click I'm not a robot, and then follow the instructions. Down the bottom it says, by registering you are confirming that you accept our user agreement, the employment agreement and our privacy policy. All three of those documents are available simply by clicking the link. If you're happy, select Next. Now you need to set a password. It must have at least one capital and one lowercase letter, be at least 8 characters in length and contain at least one special character. So once you've done that, click Register. Now we need to enter some personal details. You can see that this next stage is divided into 5 steps from left to right. Each step is a page from top to bottom that you need to complete before proceeding to the next step. The first part is an optional profile picture. We do strongly prefer that you upload a head and shoulders shot. It is optional, but it does help our consultants to remember who you are. So if you're going to do that, select Choose File. Again, choose File. Your photograph. You can adjust the sliders to get the photograph exactly where you want it, and hit Upload. Now you'll notice when you hit Upload, it doesn't automatically appear on your profile. It will appear overnight, so don't panic, you haven't done anything wrong. It just takes an overnight upload to appear. The next, if you have a preferred name, enter that into here, your date of birth here, your address here. If your address doesn't appear on Google Maps, click that one there and just manually type in the address. The photo ID is a mandatory part of registering with Maxima, so select what type of ID that you're going to upload. In this case it'll be a driver's license. I need to input the number, the state and the expiry date, and then I need to upload a copy of the file. It is important to note that while you can upload anything, where it asks you to upload evidence, our administrative staff will actually check to make sure that what you've uploaded matches. The gender, copy of your resume, And you have an optional text box here where you can write a description if you like. You need to declare whether you're an Australian citizen and you have the right to work. So if you were to say yes, there needs to be some sort of supporting documentation. In this case, to prove your legal work rights, it needs to be either an Australian birth certificate, a citizenship certificate, or you can also have a birth certificate, Australian passport, or a visa listing Australian work rights. So in this case I'm going to upload my passport. The references are optional. If you haven't supplied them previously, or if it's not in your resume, please supply some references here, but if it's in your resume you don't need to complete this section. Finally, on the first screen there's a question about our job active information. Just declaring whether you are a job active participant. If yes, it will ask you for your job active provider details. If no, you just need to proceed to the next screen. Step number 2. If you have an Australian National Police Clearance Certificate, please enter that in here. If you say yes, it will ask you for an issue date. That's the date that the certificate was issued, and then you need to choose the file. Please note that a national police clearance is different from DCSI clearances, which is the Department of Community and Social Inclusion. If you have any of those clearances there, please upload them here, and they will have expiry dates as opposed to issue dates. Country of birth. Do you identify as an Aboriginal and or Torres Strait Islander? Is yes, no, or prefer not to answer. And are you from a racial or ethnic group which is mostly a minority in Australia? Yes or no. Some additional information here. It asks you whether you're currently employed or not, the employment type, whether you've had a government separation package. If yes, you'll be required to put in the date, or no. And there's some information regarding your current status. This information is really used for government statistics only. It does not affect your opportunity to be offered work within Maxima. Similarly, with your workers' compensation questions here, again, this doesn't affect your ability to be received work offers. It really is about us knowing what any restrictions are in your current state of health. If you said yes to that, for example, you might want to and next. In step 3, we need to actually declare what relevant qualifications and licenses and tickets that we have. So the difference between qualifications and licenses certificates, qualifications don't have expiry dates. So there'll be things like degrees, certificates, Certificate 3 in horticulture, for example, something that doesn't expire. So in this case, if I was an accountant, I might search for accounting, and I have an accounting degree, and then I would need to upload a copy of it. If I had something that did expire, for example a forklift license or a first aid certificate, I would then need to list the expiry date and upload a copy of it. If you go to search for a license or a qualification and it's not there to choose from, it means it's unlikely that we're actually going to be offering work in that field. So for example, if you have a teaching degree, you won't find it in there because we don't look after that industry sector. In the industry skills and experience, you don't need to actually put anything in here. This will be done at the interview stage, so you can feel free to skip this part. In this section, you're acknowledging that you've received the Maxima Employee Handbook. Now that will be emailed to your email address that you used to register with, but there is a copy on that link there. And then you can sign here or upload a signature. If you have a touch screen, you can also use that as well. And hit next. Now we're into our financial details. Maxima requires you to enter your financial details before you can complete your registration. So with your bank account details, BSB, just takes a second to register. There it is, People Choice Credit Union, account number, and that's it for your bank details. With your superannuation details, if you have a self-managed super fund, say yes here. Otherwise, the option is to join Maxima's default super fund. You can, of course, choose your own super fund. So if you say yes to this section here and you want to go into Maxima's default super fund, which is statewide super, you can proceed to the tax declaration. If, however, you want to use your own super fund, hit no here, and then you'll have to search for your superannuation details. So it could be any one of these. Start typing and the options will come up. It will automatically fill in the USI. Then you need to input your membership number. That's it for super. And now we're doing an online taxation declaration. So your tax file number goes here. Title. It's automatically filled in your name and address from before. The basis that you're going to be paid, for 99% of our people, it's casual basis. And you're an Australian resident for tax purposes. The question that does confuse a lot of people is, do you want to claim the tax-free threshold from this payer? In general, if it's the only job that you're working on at the time, you would say yes to pay the correct amount of tax. If you say no, please bear in mind you'll be taxed at a higher rate, which you may or may not be able to receive back at the end of the financial year. If you're uncertain about this question, please seek financial advice. Questions about HECS debts or financial debts, and then again digital signature, or you can upload your own file. Hit next to proceed. In the final section we have a reasonably comprehensive medical questionnaire. This is very important that we capture this information. In general, the questions, if you say yes to a question, it'll generally bring up a small text box to supply some further details. So for example, if you said yes to ever had an operation or surgery, it will say tell us a little bit more about it. So the answers that you supply in here will be used as a basis for a discussion with your consultant. If they had any further questions to ask you, they would base it off this medical questionnaire. Otherwise, you just might go through and hit no to everything if it doesn't apply. Click Next. And that's it. That's all you need to do to register with Maxima. Thank you very much.